talk to you briefly from the thought when all you have is a maybe faith. If we can be honest with, just keep it real, keep it 100, we all have been to the point where we didn't know where to stand or move. There have been times in our life where our current direction wasn't clear and our outcome wasn't very uncertain. But we said within ourselves, well, just maybe, because we wasn't clear. Let's look at the text. 1 Samuel 14, 6 and 7. And Jonathan said to the young man that bare his armor, come and let us go over to the garrisons of these uncircumcised, that it may be that the Lord will work for us. For there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few. And his armor bearer said unto him, do all that is in thine heart. Turn thee, behold, I am with thee according to thy word. And looking at this passage in 1 Samuel, Jonathan seems to be in a situation of uncertainty. The future, the absolute direction he needed for the present time just was not clear. All he could say in verse 6 was, it may be. He couldn't be sure one way or another. He seems to, and probably did feel that it was the right thing to do. But there is uncertainty revealed in the word. There seems to be some doubt. Doubt is the opposite of faith. In Ephesians 6, the Apostle Paul talks about the armor of God. In that discussion, he speaks of taking the shield of faith with which we can quench the fiery darts of the enemy. If doubt is the opposite of faith, then watch this. Then it is faith that is needed to dispel the darts of doubt that the enemy tries to hit us with. Let me say that again. If doubt is the opposite of faith, then we need faith to dispel the darts of doubt that the enemy tried to hit us with. There are times when we are just hit with doubt, and we need a shield of faith to quench Satan's attempt to unravel our faith. But I'm also convinced that there are times when we have uncertainties, doubts, if you will, when the enemy is not majorly involved. There are times when you're just unsure and unclear on the right steps to take and the right moves to make. Sometimes all we have is a sense, a feeling, and something abstract. We have nothing concrete. It's all a feeling. And while I'm on the word feeling, let me fill you in on the word feelings. Feelings are fake, feelings are false, feelings are fickle, and feelings will fool you. Most of the times in every era of our life, we like guarantee. We like the real and sure thing. But the sure and real thing doesn't require any faith. In Hebrews 11:16, faith is identified as a prerequisite of pleasing God. Now watch this. It's true that in most cases, most of us will face more maybes than we will certainties in our walk with God. Yeah, most of us will face more maybes than we will certainties in our walk with God. There will be times where we have a sense of what is right, what God's will is, but we'll have some doubt and uncertainties. Ecclesiastes 11, Solomon talks about not watching the wind and clouds. Don't get caught up in watching the natural circumstances. Don't get distracted by waiting on natural things to line themselves up. Beloved, if all we do is wait on the right time, on the right atmosphere, on the right people, on the right condition, then all we will ever do is sit around talking about how bad we need things to line up so we can get things done. The atmosphere, the metaphor and used in Ecclesiastes 11 relates to this truth, to sowing and reaping. He who regards the wind will never reap. Whether sowing or reaping, you cannot sit around waiting on perfect conditions before you take action. Don't wait on the wind. Don't focus on the cloud. And if we wait to do anything for God until we are sure that it's the right thing, then we will all be sitting around and missing the miracle. Sometimes you have to move out on a maybe. And I'm not talking about senseless actions and trusting God to empower our every whim, but I do believe that there are times when you have to step out on faith. And that means, watch this, you will not be sure. To wait until you are sure is not having faith, and it's not moving faith. All you have is a maybe. But I believe the Lord will say, if you will begin to move out on a maybe, I will transform your maybe into a miracle. We walk by faith and not by sight. We are to walk by faith and not by sight. And that means to take a chance, move out when you're unsure, move out on a maybe. That means you can still have some doubts, some reservations. You can still have questions and not know the whole plan. The reason that a lot of people are in the condition that they're in today because they want to see the whole plan of things, and God hadn't revealed it to you. But God wants you to move out on a maybe. You don't have to see the whole plan. You don't have to know the whole story. But if you would just move out on a maybe, then God can do awesome work just because you stepped out in maybe faith. So what do you do when you're uncertain? Are you just going to sit around and wait on the natural circumstances to align themselves? Or are you going to wait for conditions that are perfect to launch that God has placed in your spirit and your heart? Allow me to help you while I help myself. Jesus said, I am he that opens and no man shut, and shut and no man open. I believe that God can do, that God can open and shut doors that we're not anyone else are able to do anything about. However, watch this, I also believe that there are doors that God unlocks but leaves closed, seeing if you have the faith to try the doorknob. I believe we have often missed God's movement and directions because we want to see the entire panoramic view. But God may just want us to push the door just a little bit. We miss out on the whole thing that God has for us because we don't understand the whole story. God may just want us to push the door just a little bit, test the doorknob. I believe that God will draw you to an unlocked door that is closed and then give you a maybe condition and see what your faith will cause you to do. Will your faith cause you to push the door? Will your faith cause you to try the doorknob? Or will your faith cause you to walk away simply because the door is closed? Most people are worried about making mistakes. And that's possible. But I come to know that you cannot make a mistake so big that God cannot clean up. You cannot make a mess so big that God cannot erase. If you give yourself permission to fail, then watch this. You need to give yourself permission to try. Yeah. And there's nothing that beats a failure but a try. And sometimes that's all God wants. He just wants you to try. Now you may be think we are only to move out on certainty, but do you realize how much natural decision we base on a maybe? We get married on maybes, or fill out that loan on maybes, or we go get that scratch off on maybe, or a new job position. They're all done on a maybe. And if people will do natural things, mental things based on a maybe, could it be possible that God wants us to incorporate, to implement this kind of faith into our realm of spirituality matters? A man brought his demon-possessed son to Jesus to get him to cast the demons out. Jesus said, if you can believe, all things are possible. But the man replied, I believe, but help my unbelief. Now, this sounds like schizophrenic faith. First, he believed, and then he doesn't believe. I believe he was saying, all I have hope in is a maybe. I know what you can do, but I'm not sure what you're going to do. Have you ever been in a situation where God has done something in your life? You have experienced God. You know what God can do, but now you in a point where you had never experienced before, and now God has you your back against the wall, and all you have is a maybe. You know what he can do, but right now you don't know what he's going to do. You need to step out on a maybe. This man said, I believe, but help my unbelief. Jesus moved on his behalf, turned his maybe into a miracle. But let us go back to the text of 1 Samuel 14. The scene is that of Jonathan and his armor bearer coming to a place where they were facing a garrison of Philistines. Some believe this to be up to 250 armed soldiers. So it was 2 against 250. What were they to do? Jonathan says, let us go over unto them, for it may be the Lord will work for us. Now, the armor bearer didn't have his own weapons or armor. He only bare that of his master. So there was only one sword, one shield among them. And they want to attack. And the armor bearer in verse 17 proves that he's just as crazy as Jonathan, because he said, I am with you. Do what's in your heart. Oh, how I wish that the Lord would give LOJ people like that he would bless the ministry full of people like that, people who would move out on a maybe and others who will say, I'm with you. Let me bring this to an application for us. Let's look at what these men, where they were and what they were missing. They were in a place of insufficiency, facing the garrisons of the Philistines. They had insufficient personnel. It was just Jonathan and his armor bearer. Insufficient weapons, one sword, one shield. Insufficient plans. They had no strategic plan, no fighting plan at all. They wasn't equipped or able in the natural to do it. But they also had something else. They had maybe faith. They didn't have natural equipment, but they had maybe faith. They didn't have assurance, but they had faith in maybe. And God intervened on their behalf and wrought a victory. What I'm trying to say this morning is, if all you have is a maybe faith, use what you have and let God do the rest. In my closing, I don't want to excuse my inactive any longer by giving lame excuses. They are not full of faith, but full of doubt and reasonings. I don't plan on my last words being, it's just not time yet. We need to analyze our faith and begin to step out on a maybe and trust God to do that maybe and turn that maybe into a miracle when all you have is a maybe. Maybe God is wanting you to move out. Test the doorknob. Push on the door. Step out in faith. What is faith? Faith is what moves you. It's what motivates you and activates you. When all you have is a maybe. When all you got is a maybe faith. Faith is acting like it is so, even when it's not so, just so it can be so, simply because God said so. When all you have is a maybe faith, step out on your maybe, and God will turn your maybe into a miracle.